Hello everyone, welcome to this new video on Gemini. In this video, I'll try to cover everything that you need to know about Gemini API and let's get started. So, let me briefly describe some of the things that we will be doing in this video. The first thing that I have done is I have prepared this short notes on Gemini API and utilizing the Gemini API. So this is what will be a guiding thing for us throughout this video. We'll be taking references from these notes, and then the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to do very mini kind of examples. So first one, we will be looking at how to do simple text prompting, how to configure Gemini API, how to do text prompting, how to do image prompting with two images that I have downloaded from internet. First one is this burger image, and we will be basically try to ask Gemini whether we have to eat this or not if we are a diabetic patient. Okay, and after that we will be looking at a chat kind of interface where in the terminal I'm going to be building a chat app using the Gemini's API, and then we will be looking at how we can get structured responses using Gemini API by utilizing the schema type, uh, and then lastly we will be talking about how to stream outputs using this simple argument called stream is equal to true. So I hope you are excited to learn all of this in 1 hour. So let's get started with the first section. So first of all, what I will do is I will open the handwritten notes which I have prepared for you, and I'll be sharing this with all of you in the description of this video. Let me quickly open this notes, and I'll be starting with each of these concepts one by one. But before I do that, what I would like to do is I would like to set up our environment so that if I feel like I will also explain something by running one example. Okay, so what is the first step? The first step is to basically set up our environment so that we can connect with the Gemini API and make appropriate calls to the API. So the first step would be to get the API key itself. And how can you do that? Let me open the browser and navigate to this link called AI Studio. aistudio.google.com. So this is the link that you would need to visit. So if I hit enter, now once you open this web page, you will be basically, if you are not logged into your Gmail account, you would need to log in first, and then you will get this kind of interface where you will see that in between you can do all sorts of experimentation by running the prompts, and on the left you get various options like you can create prompts, you can stream real time and things like that. And on the right you can see and control the model performance, so to say. So what do I mean by that? So essentially we can change the type of model, that type of Gemini model, and all of these we are going to be covering in this video, like what is the type of Gemini model, what do we mean by token, what is temperature, all these things. I'll try to cover all these concepts. Okay, so now what I need to do is to get the API key, I'll click on this link on the left, which says get API key. And when we click on this link, we will get this interface. And since I have already created one API key myself, I can simply copy it from here. But let me try to create a API key from scratch. So I'll click on this button, create API key, and once I click on this, they will ask me to basically select the Google Cloud project. Now You might be thinking that this is a paid service, but let me tell you, this is completely free of cost, and they are just all of these API keys are tied directly tied to your Google Cloud projects. That's why it is asking you to basically select your cloud project, and your cloud project is directly tied to your Gmail account. So you can select this any kind of, or if you don't have any project, you can simply type some name and you can create a project using that name. But for now, what we can do is we can simply select this for my first project, and once we do that, we can hit create API key in existing project. So it will say generating API key, and once it is done generating, we can simply grab this API key and we can start our calling. So what I'll do is uh, let this window remain open. We will come back to this window um, once we have the environment set up. So I have created this file, which is obviously for handwritten notes. So let me create a new folder, uh, which I'll call Gemini tutorial. Okay, one second, I think I misspelled it. Okay, so let me go inside this folder and let me open Visual Studio Code. You are free to use any code editor that you feel comfortable in. So I'll open command prompt in this folder that I just created. Now in this folder, what I can do is I can open the Visual Studio Code by hitting code and this dot. Now what this will do is this will open the Visual Studio code editor within this folder. Okay, so once I have this, what I'll do is I'll create a file called API key.json. Now what I'll do is I'll create a JSON object, and now let me go back to the AI Studio .google.com and let me grab this API key, and let's save this key in a key, you can say key key named key, right? So this is essentially a key. So or I can say API key. So I have saved this key as the with the name of API underscore key. Now we have this JSON ready. Now what we will be doing is we will be loading this into a Python file. Okay, so this is what is to be done to get the API key. What is the next step? So for next step, let me start setting up my environment by doing, let's see, one second. So what I'll do is I'll open a terminal, new terminal, and now I'll start setting up my virtual environment. Now why do we need a virtual environment? And there are good reasons to create virtual environment and keep your dependencies separate, but I'll not be going into its detail and intricacies as to what might happen if you don't create a virtual environment. For now, I'll just create it using a venv tool, venv tool, which basically comes pre-built with Python. So what I'll do is I'll do python m venv and name of the virtual environment. So I'll say Gemini, maybe tuts. Okay, so once this is created, so you can see there is this folder called Gemini hyphen tutorials. So once we have this, we will activate this environment. So Gemini script and activate. So once we have this, now we are in our virtual environment. Now within this, what I'll need to do is let me close these tabs. Oh shit. Okay, let me open the one second. So Control Shift. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's open terminal like this. Okay, so once we have this, we'll need to activate it once again. Okay, so once I have this virtual environment activated, what I would need to do is I would need to install a library. Now, since I am working with a Python package, so but here in this particular tutorial, I'll be covering this in Python. This can be replicated similarly with other packages let's say if you are building your application in JS, then you can utilize Node's package manager to install these packages. So anyways, so what I'll do is I'll do pip install uh, Google generative AI, and if I hit enter, it will start the install process for this particular package. Okay, there are some other packages like typing extensions, which I'll explain why those are required, but those will be, I guess, installed. Yeah, we can see that typing extension is also installed because these can be passed to Google Gemini's API to get the structured response. Okay, we will come to that. Okay, so once we have this environment set up, now what we can do is we can also install one more package, which is, let me clear the environment. So I'll say pip install Pillow. So Pillow is a simple package for doing image manipulation, simple type of image manipulations. And for our use case, I'll be reading one image. So that's why we will need a Pillow library. Okay. So now that we have these packages ready, we can go ahead and start with the theory part that I have covered in this particular notes. So this notes I have carefully tried to keep it very concise and short so that you have no difficulty understanding each of these connected concepts. All right. So as you already know, this video is about everything about Gemini. We will try to cover almost all the major features and concepts about this particular piece of technology. So, what is Gemini? So, first question is, what is Gemini? Because anyone who is completely new to these type of models, they need to understand what is exactly this Gemini thing. So, Gemini is basically a LLM. Now, what is LLM? We will be covering that later. So, LLM stands for large language model. Now if I have to ask this question, that what is LLM? So LLM is basically made up of two words. One is L, which stands for large, and another is LM, which stands for language model. Now let's briefly cover these two basically words separately. Let's start with the language model part. Now what is language model? So again, language model, LM itself is made up of language model. So we need to think about what is a model. Okay, so here I have tried to give a very simplistic definition of a model. Okay, so you can see here a model is a basically a kind of representation of something. Okay, so you might have built some sort of model in your school time, or maybe in your as part of your school project. So what you essentially try to do is you try to model something by building a working prototype of that thing and how that works. So basically we essentially what model does is it basically represents something, and how does that work from inside. So we want to capture that. Now what is a language model? So it should be quite self-explanatory. Now a language model basically tells us something about language. Now since language, we have got several languages, English, Spanish, French, all these languages we have in our society nowadays. We can model all of these languages separately. So essentially language model does what? Language model tries to model a particular language. Let's consider the example of English for now. Okay, so essentially LLM is basically a model of language. Now what do we want to achieve by modeling the language? What do we want to achieve by modeling the language English? So see, this LLM is quite a new topic, although it's been around since I guess 4 to 5 years when OpenAI first launched its GPT model. But it's still a very new piece of technology. But language model itself is a quite old technology, because in language model what we want to do is we want to model and find out the probabilities of different words occurring together. Okay, and this type of thing can be easily done by simple statistical techniques. So just to give you an example, what we can do is we can take the entire Wikipedia text that is available on the internet, and we can find out some probabilities of words co-occurrences. So let me explain you what do I mean by that. Okay, so what we can do is, suppose my entire Wikipedia text contains of this sentence, which is uh, hi, how are you doing? Okay, so this is the first sentence, and another sentence is thank you for asking. Okay, suppose my entire Wikipedia, although this is a very simplistic representation of the entire Wikipedia, but let's suppose the entire Wikipedia text only contains these two sentences. And let us say I want to model English based on these two sentences. So what I can do is I can find out some probabilities of different words occurring. Okay, so what I can do is I can say something like, what would be the probability of a word you, given that thank, somebody has said thank? So what is the probability of you occurring after thank has already occurred? And we can see that the probability of you occurring after thank is quite high, and similarly probability of you occurring after r is quite high. We can intuitively say that this probability is going to be higher. But on the other hand, if let's say, if I want to model the probability of he, given that thank, I can intuitively just say I will not be able to tell the number, although calculating the number exact probability is also quite easy, but we won't be going into that in this video. But intuitively we can say that from this sentence itself, that this probability is going to be low, right? So now I have not so far touched anything about the large part of language model. We are just talking about language model right now. So you should be able to intuitively kind of understand what we exactly try to do in language model. We take a corpus of text. Now this is a new term, corpus of text. What is corpus? So corpus is essentially a very fancy way of saying collection of text. Okay, so collection of text, collection of documents, anything you can say. So essentially what we have is, we have a corpus of text. We take that corpus of text and we try to calculate these kind of probabilities. Now this can be done in a very sophisticated manner. We can not just calculate the probability of you given thank. We can calculate the probability of you given maybe thank and some other words as well. Okay, so we can say something like probability of word 1 given that word 2, word 3, and so on has occurred. So in this particular form of probability, we are basically trying to capture a very complicated kind of relationship. Okay, so this is what we mean by language model, and that is basically LM. Okay, so here I have tried to basically try to write that down. So basically what it does is, it helps us know the intricacies of a given language. How does different words, different pieces of components of a language interact with each other? Okay, and essentially the main core objective of a language model is to predict the next word given a set of words. Okay, so now we can compute the probability by taking any text, that is Wikipedia or books. Okay, and we can take that text and we can calculate these probabilities quite easily. It's very easy. We just have to find out the occurrences of all these words together, and we need to find out all the occurrences of the of two words in a language, and we just need to divide those two pieces of number to get probability. But it can get complicated, but we can easily do it in a programming language like Python, and we can calculate these pieces of information, these pieces of probability quite easily. Now let us go back to the original discussion, which was large language model. So what we do is, in a LM, we so what we had up to, let's say, 2018 was, we had a very sophisticated language model, but none of those language models were able to kind of capture, you can say, the the human-like human-like accuracy on the language modeling task. So what happened was LLM. So L in large language model basically represents the fact that we are now basically taking the entire internet data to train these models. Now, how are these models trained? This in itself is a basically is a very complicated topic. Basically, these are trained on something known as BERT-like structure, where we have encoder decoder kind of thing set up, and we need to have a knowledge of um, uh, what you say neural networks to be able to understand that. We can obviously get into that, but that will take unnecessarily, and that might discourage some of the beginners who must be watching this video. Okay, so how is it trained? We can probably cover that next time. So essentially, what can we take away uh, from this page? So the main point that we can take away from this point is, first of all, LLM is essentially uh, a model trained on entire internet. Okay, and what exactly it does? It is a probabilistic model. It is a probabilistic model which helps us predict next word. Okay, now you might be wondering, like, just by this simple model, we are able to see things like Chat GPT or Gemini, but it is as simple as that. Okay, but the thing is that people have taken these LLMs, these probabilistic model, and they have carefully done what is known as tuning, fine tuning, to build these chatbots and things like that. But the base of all those you can say all those chatbots are this LLM, this simple concept of probabilistic model. Okay, so the LLM is a model trained on entire internet, and Gemini is in itself is a LLM, a kind of LLM. Okay, so basically, what do I mean by a kind of LLM? So see, we have internet data, we have lots of data on internet, lots of language data on internet. Now this LLM can be trained in a different kind of manner. Okay, OpenAI has trained its GPT-4 model in a different setup. Now, what do I mean by setup? Setup is basically you can say what kind of architecture, was used to train Gemini. Okay, so the architecture which was used to train Gemini was a different kind of architecture if we compare it with, let's say, Chat GPT's or maybe OpenAI's GPT-4o model. Okay, so this is how these two different kind of models differ. But essentially, the similarity between these different kind of models are that all of these are using the entire internet data, and they are called LLMs. Okay, so this is the gist of this first page. Okay, now let us move on to the second page. Okay, so now let us move on to the next page, and that is variants of Gemini. Okay, so from our previous page, now we understand that Gemini is a kind of language, kind of LLM. Okay, not language, but kind of LLM. Okay, now this LLM has been evolving over the period of time, and Google is making it better and better by using more refined architecture. And if you recall, we talked about setup and architecture, and that is how different variants of model offered by different vendors, be it OpenAI or Google or Anthropic or other kind of vendors, they differ in the use of their architectures. Okay, so Gemini, when it was first launched, the initial version of the Gemini is called Gemini 1.0, and most widely used Gemini is Gemini 1.5, and most recent is Gemini 2.0. Okay, and in the if I have to compare this with let's say OpenAI's LLMs, then they started with GPT 3 or 2, and then GPT 4, 4o, and then and now they have GPT O1 and O3. And O3 is making a lot of news as a very advanced model with very advanced reasoning capabilities. Okay, now here notice I'm writing that for each of these models, uh, Gemini is offering two different variants, and the first one is called Pro, and another one is Flash. Okay, now from the name itself, it should be clear that Flash is a model which is offered by Google for high frequency task where speed is required by organizations. If let's say I make a call to Gemini's API and it returns a response in a very late in late time, then in that case that is of no use, okay, for some applications. But for some applications we want more accuracy. For that we have Pro model. Okay, now how do these variants differ between each other? For to be able to answer that, we need to have knowledge of some key terms. Okay, now what are those key terms? So first of all, let us talk about the context length. Okay, so what is context length? Now uh, context length is essentially the number of words, roughly speaking, number of words which you use in your prompt. And what is a prompt? Prompt is basically a question which we ask to the model, to the LLM. Okay, so in the technical term, it is not exactly called words. It's called tokens, because that's how these models are trained on tokens. Okay, because one token cannot necessarily mean a word. It can mean let's say punctuation, or a combination of word and punctuation. So context length is basically very roughly speaking number of tokens present in your question. Okay, now this context length can be of two types. You can have a input context length, you can have a output context length. Okay, so input context length would be a number of tokens present in your input query, and then model will respond, and hence model will respond in, let's say, number of in a certain length. So number of tokens within the response will be known as output context length. I did not write those two separately because I did not think it was much required. Okay, okay, so what was the next important piece of information that we need to know? Next piece of information is input data type. It should be quite self-explanatory. Usually we think that these LLMs can only take text, and that is how I explained it in the previous page, that we can LLMs are essentially a large language model, and language is essentially a text. But if you think about it, audio also contains text, video also contains text. Okay, those contains collection of images, but those images can be converted into a text. Okay, so that is how input data type can be of different forms: text, audio, video, and images. Initially, the Gemini 1 model only supported text input type. No other input types were supported, but Gemini 1.5 onwards, lots of other types, the support for other types also started. Okay, now since I just showed you that we can use AI Studio for free by visiting this website, and we can also test out these models by entering our prompts or questions here. Let's say I need to ask, what is AI? It's a very simple prompt. Any simple model can also answer this, but just to try it out, if I run it, it will respond with a answer. Right now, the question is, I did not pay for this service, right? So Google is basically providing me this interface for free. Okay, so now why I'm telling you this is that um, that there's got to be a limit to how much I can use for a free version. So that's why I'm telling you this, and these things are important when I come to this table. Okay. So what is input data type? I already explained. Now what is RPM? RPM is essentially request per minute. I just asked the LLM a question. It was called one request, and we will be doing this from the code Python also. But for now, I'm basically interacting with the model in using this interface that Google has provided for me to use. Okay, so now let's say if I write one more question, explain it in a child friendly way. Okay, so in this case, what I have done is I have I have just used this model two times. Let's say it's been 1 minute. I have requested this model two times. So what basically request per minute would mean is here RPM would be 2, and there is a limit to how many times I can make request to this model. Now you might be wondering that is it possible for a human to, let's say, exceed this limit? And you are right to basically wonder about this. But when we will be making these calls from programming languages, it is possible to, let's say, overload these models. So that's why Google has made some limits for both free version of the use of the model and also paid version. Okay, let's cover these concepts quickly. Okay, now what is TPM? Now you might be wondering that you might be thinking about the length of the question I just asked. I asked it a question with, let's say, 5 to 6 words in it. Oh, all right. So this tokens per minute is basically telling us that how many tokens I can use. I can basically use or consume with my, let's say, free version and paid version, and those things will become clear when we cover the table. Now RPD is similar to RPM, but instead of minute, now we are tracking in terms of days, and similarly for TPD, that is tokens per day. Okay, now here roughly, so Google has given is this estimate that, one second, Google has given this estimate that roughly 100 tokens correspond to 60 to 80 English words. It is a rough estimate. Okay, it is, you can say it's close to one to one kind of so one token corresponds to close to zero point 0.8 English words. Okay, now let me go back to the interface once again. Okay, and on the right you see it says I have used 12 tokens out of 1 million. Now, why? Because you might be thinking that I have only consumed only about 8 to 9 tokens here. Why it is saying 617? Because it is including the number of tokens in the output as well. And if you now recall, I mentioned here that when we talk about context length, we talk about context length for both input and output, and similarly we talk about tokens for both input and output. Okay, so that is why it is including the number of tokens for both input and output. Okay, so why this table is useful? This table is basically telling us about the limits of these different models. Okay, and if this seems overwhelming, I can make it easy for you. Okay, so what we can do is we can forget about this model, because this model is now completely, you can say, useless. It's not used anymore. The only major model that is being used as of now is these three in between 1.5 version of models. So we have 1.5 Pro, 1.5 Flash with 8 billion parameters, and then 1.5 Flash with normal parameters, and then we have 2.0 Flash, which I'll not be discussing much. So let's discuss these points one by one. So what is the context length? I means input, O means output. Okay, so you can see here, uh, I'm talking about input context length, I'm talking about output context length. So for these two models, input context length is 1 million and output context length is 8k. 8k means 8000. So let me now go back to the one second, let me go back to this. So what does that mean? That means I can ask a question which involve number of words equal to 1 million in this particular prompt. Okay, and the response which I will get will always contain number of tokens no more than 8k. Okay, now IDT corresponds to input data type, and you can see that I have listed, I have written here all. What does that mean? All means all type of input data, image, text, audio, video, everything can be passed. And when I visit this particular interface, I can click on this add, and I can upload all sorts of documents here. Okay, so other than that, I have also listed here RPM. Now, why is RPM required? Request per minute. You see, I have listed two numbers here, 15 and 2000. 15 is for free version, I can only, which means I can only uh, ask 15 different type of requests, 15 different type of prompts or questions in 1 minute. Okay, I cannot exceed more than that, and if I try to exceed that, Google is going to stop that request. It will not process that particular request. Okay, so you can see here also TPN, tokens per minute, which means 1 million and 4 million. So for a free version, I can ask a question with 1 million token. For a paid version or pay as you go model, I can ask a question, a prompt with 4 million tokens. Similarly, request per day, this is 1500 flat, and for pro it is low. Why for pro it is low? Because you have to understand that pro models are trained and consume more resources. That is why Google has kept much lower limits for those, while a 8 billion model consumes less resources. That is why basically these are offering us different kind of limits. Now if I see this ODT means output data type. Most of these models output only text, but this new version of model, which is 2.0 Flash, it has the capability of producing images or maybe audio or videos as well. But for now we have not got any update in that, but they are saying that in future models they will be able to produce images and videos as well. Okay, so far we have only talked about the theoretical aspects and what underlies these models and things like that. Now we will be basically talking about how to use these models in Python. Okay, so let us now move on and see the Gemini's API and different capabilities it offers. What I have done is I have tried to go to the official documentation that Google provides, and I've tried to cover all the topics, almost all the topics that are covered in the on the Gemini API's official documentation, and especially the Python one, not the JS one. Okay, so the first point is the API is accessible via Python, JS, and also some simple endpoints. Let's say if you are using a tool called curl, or may want to make request using that, you are free to do that. Okay, so we have already looked at the installation of Google Generative AI, and we did that. Now what I'll do is I'll show you one by one simple demos of, let's say, a simple generation, image prompting, chat kind of interface, and also how we can provide generation configuration. Okay, and then there is one more page that I want to discuss. And so basically two type of topics I would like to discuss at last: getting structured outputs and what is streaming. So these topics I'll be discussing in last. So first of all, I have to go to the Visual Studio and create a script, maybe called testgemini.py. Okay, so this is the script name. Now what I will be doing is I'll be trying to interface with the Gemini API. So what are the different steps that it involves? So let me create a comment, maybe a multi-line comment in Python. Okay, one second. Let me write down my points. Okay, so first of all, select the model. Okay, and before even selecting the model, configure the Gemini. And when I say configure, what we mean is we want to be able to tell Gemini that we are the correct user by specifying our API. Okay, so what we will do is we configure the Gemini, and in the second step we want to basically select the model. And in the model selection process, we want to be able to select one of these models that we just discussed on this page. Okay, once we select the model, we have to select the task. And in the task selection, we want to be able to know beforehand that whether we want to uh, do text prompting, we want to do image prompting, or I should rather write it as prompting on text, image, text or image, or audio, or video. Okay, now finally, uh, we have to create our request or create our prompt, and finally send the request. Okay, so fifth step is send the request. Okay, let me now comment all these steps and start the process. So first step is configure the Gemini, and once we configure it, we will try to run it and see whether it configures correctly or not. Okay, let me close this window maybe so that we can see the full screen. So what I'll do is, first of all, I'll import the Google Generative AI as GenAI. Okay, so after importing it, we want to be able to call its configure, one second, configure method, and here I have to specify the API key. Now where is my API key? So that I need to load it. Okay, so I'll import JSON, because my API key is loaded in API key underscore JSON file. And after importing JSON, I'll I'll read this file with read mode as file, and get the API key is equal to, I'll call json.load. I have to call json.load because I'm loading it from file. If I had a string in a JSON format, then I would have called load as, which means load string. Okay, so I can provide the file, and finally once the file has been loaded, I can simply copy this key, because this JSON will be available to us in a dictionary format, and this API key I can pass here. Okay, okay, so once I have this, I should be able to run this code without any error. So let's run it by saying Python and name of the script. And if I run it, I should be able to run the error. And I think I can write a print statement saying configuration was successful. Okay, so let's run it again, and we will see this. Okay, all right, so this step is done. Now we have to select the model. Okay, so let us select the model, and I'm going to select the 1.5 flash version of the model. So what I'll do is I'll write GenAI dot generative model, and in this we will have to pass the string of the model. So what we can do is we can pass Gemini 1.5 flash, okay, here. And to make sure we have successfully loaded this model, instead of printing this, I'll print model is loaded. Okay, we will print the model maybe as its class representation. Okay, so it says model is loaded, and it has printed the string for the model. And I will tell you about this generation config because this is a very important parameter. But for now, let's do a simple generation. So after we have selected the model, we will be selecting the task. Let us select for now text. Okay, so what we can do is, let me comment it out. I can call this model, and I can call a method called generate content. Okay, in the generate content, I can simply write my prompts. I can say, what is AI? Explain me like I am child. Okay, all right. So now what we can do is we can save the response as a response object. Now the response that we get from this model is going to be a generate content. It's going to be its own kind of a JSON object, which we can parse important attributes from that object. But what we need is a text extracted. But let's for now print it in its raw form, and then try to see what are the things that we have got. It will take some time. Yeah, it's done. So you see, it has basically given us a generate content response type of class. And the main piece that we are interested in here is text. Okay, so this text, how are we going to extract? So I can simply call a text attribute of this response object, and now let's run it again. Now we will be only seeing the text returned by, you see, imagine you have a really smart puppy. You teach it tricks like sit and fetch and so on. Okay, so this is the response, and this is how we these are the steps that we follow to make a request to the Gemini model. So we have covered the text task. Okay, now let me do one thing, and that is cover the image. Okay, so for that, what I'll do is I'll probably go maybe food image. Let me search food images. Okay, so maybe this one. Okay, let's this grab this, or maybe one this one. Let me maybe get this image. Okay, and let's save this image in a Gemini tutorial. Okay, as burger, or let's type healthy food images. Okay, so let's, yeah, so this one is good. This one contains lots of healthy vegetables and fruits. So I'll snip this image, and let me maybe fruits and vegetables, fruits, or maybe let's just keep the name short. Okay, so yeah, so once we have this, I want to show you how we can prompt with image. Now notice here, the response will always be a text response. It is just that we can pass within our request, instead of text we can pass image itself. Okay, so if you recall, we installed a library called Pillow, and that library offers a a class called image, and this image class has basically a method called open. So let's say, let's open a burger image by calling the open method, that is image.open, and I'll call burger.png. Okay, now let's load the fruit image, image.open, and pass the fruits.png. Okay, so once we have these two images, the next task would be to basically, let me get rid of this. So basically, in the generate content method, we can pass either a string as prompt or a list of prompts. So instead of a single prompt, I can pass a list of prompts. So I can say, uh, do you recommend me eating the given food if I am diabetic. Okay. So now let me load this with first of all burger image. Okay. And let me also within the prompt instruct the model that respond with one sentence. Okay. So I don't want it to basically respond in a very long format. That is why I have told it to respond in a very short you can say short sentence. Okay. So now let's open the terminal. Let me clear the uh, terminal, and then let's uh, do python test underscore gemini.py. Let's wait. Okay. So you see, no, I do not recommend eating that cheeseburger and fries if you are diabetic. And let us see if our image did indeed contain fries. Yes, it did. Okay. So it did contain cheese fries and cheeseburger. So that is why it is recommending us, no, I should not have this piece of food. Now let us load it with fruit image. Okay. All right. Now let's load the model again. Okay, so it says most of the pictured foods are good choices for diabetic, but portion control is essential. So essentially, it is the model is recommending us that we should watch out our quantity of the food. Okay, we just because we these food the food items are healthy doesn't mean we can binge eat these. Okay, so that is what the model is recommending us. Okay. All right. So we have prompted with text, we have prompted with images, and audio and video are just similar. What we need to do is instead of loading the images, we need to load a video and we need to pass the video like this. Or we can also load the entire video as a collection of images. Maybe let's say if I am having a video with a 10-minute video, that 10-minute video we can sample that 10-minute video for each frame. So that video might be having multiple frames, but for each second we can sample one image. So essentially, let me do the math for you. Okay. So let us say I have a video of 10 minutes. So how many frames will this have? 10 minutes multiplied by how many seconds? In each minute, 60. Now within each second I might be having 30 frames, which means uh, 600 times, so 1800 images. I don't need to basically load all those images. What I can do is for each second I can sample only one frame, because usually in a video where there are no quick changes, in 1 second we only see one image, one unique image. So what we can do is we can get only 600 images, and those 600 images can be loaded as a list, and that list can be passed here, and we can basically ask bunch of questions on those images, given that the total number of tokens, combined input token, does not exceed this 1 million count. That is the limit. Okay. All right. So I think this particular discussion uh, covers these two topics, and that is a simple generation and image prompting. Now I would like to show you the chat interface. uh, how can we build a chat interface with this Gemini API? So for that, what I'll do is I'll probably start a new Python file, maybe test chat Gemini. Okay. So most of this code should be similar. So I'll copy first of all entire code, and now let me get rid of this, get rid of this image piece, and get rid of this import. Let's also get rid of these. Okay, so up to the model loading part, it is going to be similar. But from this step, so Gemini, I really like this thing about Google's Gemini is that it makes it very easy to build a chat like interface. So within other packages, we need to build a context, you can say context memory of all the conversations that have happened. But with the Gemini, it's not required. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'll create a chat object, and it basically is created by a method called start chat. Okay, now in start chat, I can pass a parameter called history, which is going to be a list of JSONs. Okay, and when I say JSON in Python, JSON is just a string. Okay, so call I'll say role, and I'll say user, and then I'll create a key with let's say parts. Okay, so in the parts, I'll say hi, how are you doing, or maybe hi, I am Rahul Jha. Okay, and then in the next part, let's say the model is saying something, and it is saying nice to meet you. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm telling the model start chat method that this particular conversation has already happened. Now what I can do is I can take this chat object that we just created. I can send message. Okay, hey, what's my name, what is my name. Okay, and this I can capture in a response object, and just like that I can print a response.text, and let's try to run it, and let's see if we are able to get anything from this. And instead of test chat Gemini, okay, let me do uh, test chat Gemini. You see this, your name is Rahul Jha. Now how do you think this particular context came from? Because in here what I did was I first of all told the model's start chat method that these two conversations has already happened between the user and the model. User has first asked the question, basically informed the model that hi, I am Rahul, and then model responded with nice to meet you. Okay, now let me show you one more powerful thing. After this message, let me do response is equal to chat dot send message, hey, remember my house has three doors. Okay, now after this, let me send couple of more messages. Maybe, hey, how are you doing? Okay, once again, and what do you think, what do you think about about AI? Okay, or maybe AGI. Okay, now here's the uh, powerful feature that I wanted to talk about. Now I will ask the model how many doors my house has. Okay, print. So I have basically sent bunch of requests to the model, and notice here I did not manually save those responses in the history. It was taken care by the model's API without without my knowledge. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, let's run it. So you see, first is your name is Rahul Jha. This is basically printed from here. Okay, now after this it says your house has three doors. So basically it remembers this. Okay, without us uh, basically without us entering anything in the history object. Now here's here's something powerful we can do from this interface. We can create a while loop, and we can basically create a chat like interface within the terminal, and let me do that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a chat application, chat app.py. Okay, and let me copy, because most of the code will be same. I'll paste it right here. Okay, and let me get rid of this maybe, or maybe let's keep this. Okay, and I'll create a while loop. Okay, and I'll say uh, maybe input is equal to input, and I'll write user here. Okay, and after this I'll say if maybe if maybe I want to quit this chat. If quit in input, I'll break out of this loop. Okay, so if I'm typing anything about quit in the input, although it's not very uh, you would say it's not very thoughtful, but for now I'll go with it. Okay, so if my input contains quit, word quit, I'll assume that they want to quit the chat. Okay, otherwise I'll get its response for I'll say chat dot send message. Where's my send message? Oh, yeah, so chat dot send message, and I'll pass this input, and then I'll print this response dot text. Okay, so you see, in this kind of simple fashion I've created a chat application. Let's run this, maybe chat app. You see, it's prompting for the user, hi, how are you doing? Let's run it. Okay, so it says, I'm doing well, thank you for asking, how are you? I'm doing well. What do you think? What do you think about AGI? Answer in 30 to 50 words, because I don't want to basically make this terminal messy. That's why I'm asking 30 to 50 words. So it's saying AGI is fascinating and potential. Now I want to quit this chat. Okay, so I'll type quit. Yeah, you see, this has successfully exited out of this chat. So this chat has been created in a terminal, which obviously does not look good, but it can be easily integrated within a Flask app or maybe a Next.js app, and it will it opens up a lot of possibilities and endless possibilities basically. Okay, so now let me move back to the notes. So we have also covered this chat interface. Now before coming to this generation config, I would like to now come to the, so essentially I want to come to the generation config part. Okay, so the next major topic is getting structured outputs from LLMs. What do we mean by that? On our first page, we discussed that LLMs are by nature probabilistic models. Okay, so how can I show you this? Let me go to the AI Studio once, and let me create a new prompt, and let me ask this model, what is AGI in maybe uh, 30 words. Okay, and let me copy this text and let me run it. Okay, so I'll run it. You see this text. Okay, now let's open another prompt, or maybe let me open this in new tab. Okay, let me type it once again, the same prompt, and let's run it again. You see, AGI or artificial, so this time it has created a entirely different text. Okay, entirely different text. Obviously some, it is basically explaining the AGI, but it is not exactly same, which shows us that these are probabilistic models. In every run, in every request, Gemini is going to respond with a different response text. So this is not useful for let's say big organization who want to integrate this kind of Gemini capability into their existing products, and they want to be able to get a structured output from the Gemini. They want to be able to take the knowledge of LLMs, but they want to have some sort of predictability in the way the responses come. Okay, so they do that? Okay, there are two different methods of achieving this. First one is intelligent prompting. You see, within this within this prompt, I'm doing something very clever. In this prompt, I'm telling the model that you have to respond in 30 words. So basically, I have kind of done this intelligent prompting, where I am informing the LLM Gemini to respond in 30 words. Let's say if I just ask it, what is AGI? Okay. Now this time it is not going to restrict itself in 30 words. It is going to just go for as long as it wants, and it is also unpredictable, right? So if I, in the prompt itself, I try to be more elaborate, I can have some sort of predictability. Let's say I do something like, what is AGI? Respond in a JSON format. Let's see what it does. Although it's not, yeah. So you see, term AGI, full form this, definition this, status this. Now, if I ask this question again, okay, let's ask this question again within the same prompt. You see, this also, here it was using full form, and here it is using long form. You see, within the same prompt, it is not very structured and predictive. Even though we do some intelligent prompting, now what we can do is we can copy this prompt, and we can say, one second, yeah, we can say in a JSON format like this. So we can say maybe term, okay, full form. So I'm telling the LLM to respond in this manner only. Okay, so now let's run it, and let me copy this prompt to run it again, so that I can show you. Okay, so you see, term, full form, definition. Let's run it again. Now this model has no choice but to respond within this framework that I'm providing it. But even in this form, so okay, so what happens is, let's say you have an existing business application where you want to take this JSON and feed this JSON into some downstream application, from where this JSON will be, let's say from the downstream system will take this full form, and it will extract this full form and use it for its own use case. So for that, we would need to take the response that has been generated by the Gemini and parse this response in a JSON format. Although it can be achieved by intelligent prompting, but it is not quite sustainable and efficient. So many models like OpenAI's GPT's function calling, and also Gemini's, they have this inbuilt capability with which we can pass the schema in which I want the response to appear. So we have the second method, which is using Gemini's built-in generation config. And if you recall, when I was starting the lecture, I talked about this generation config. Okay, so this generation config we can pass. Let me show you this by a very simple example. Okay, let's let's do one thing. Let's create a new maybe example gen config dot py. Let me copy maybe this example where I am prompting the images. Now what I can do is, one second. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll I'll first of all this, okay, yeah. So now what we will do is, do you recommend me eating, instead of this, let me first of all import typing, one second, typing extensions as typing. Okay, and what I want to do is, I want to take the image and extract all the food items which are there within the image, and I want the model to respond in a consistent way. So I'll say food items. Okay, so I'll create a food item And also here I would need to basically tell it to extend this existing class typed dict. Okay, so food items will be a list of string. So now i want I want to pass this. So basically I'll within the prompt what I'll do is I'll say take this image take this image and extract all the food items you see here. So see in this image. Okay, and we have already got this fruit image. Now after passing this prompt, what I'll do is I'll write generation config is equal to genai dot generation config, and within this generation config we have to pass couple of parameters. The first one is response MIME type, which is going to be, now if you are a web developer or if you are someone who has worked with JavaScript a lot, you might be already very familiar with MIME type. So this MIME type is a way to transmit information in a structured manner across different web applications. So we want to only respond in a JSON format, and then response schema, and in the response schema I want to pass this class that I have just created. Okay, so now what will happen is within each call, let me now clear this and let's try to run this example generation config.py, and let's see what do we get. Okay, you see this? The result that we get is we have a key called food items. And why do we have that key? Because we specified this, and that key is a list. That key is a list of what? String. And strings are essentially the food items. So you see lemon, white beans, avocado, broccoli, blueberries, and so on and so forth. Okay, and if I run it again, the main thing is it is predictable. If let's say a downstream task expects a food item key, then it will always appear here. It's not like in one call it will be food items, it in another call it will be something else, because we have explicitly told the Gemini to run a dictionary or JSON with this. Okay, now what we can do is we can, in the later steps, we can do something like json.loads and load this thing in a dictionary format, and I can show you by running this again by calling this once again. Have I imported JSON? Yeah, you see now we have extracted this JSON text as a dictionary, as a Python dictionary. So this was all about getting a structured output. And why is it important? It is important, it can be important in a big organization where they want to utilize LLMs for integrating it within their existing applications. Okay, finally the last topic that I want to cover is streaming. Okay, so what do I mean by streaming? Okay, so you see, when let's say let me go to test Gemini again, and in the test Gemini, okay, I think we have already have some text. Okay, so let me get rid of this response. Let me comment out this response, and let me copy this and maybe create a new response. Okay, so and get rid of this. Okay, and then so basically I want to have a long text. So write a article on maybe AGI in 500 words. Okay, okay, so now if I try to run it, one second, Python test Gemini. Okay, so you see it will take some time, and it will only print the response after it has generated this entire article. You see, it took some response. And if you go to any chatbot, so let's suppose I write the same question here in the web interface of this create new prompt. You will see that it will print out the response as it generates. You see, this is being printed so that user does not have to wait uh, the time it takes. So it took about 5 seconds. So user do not want to wait. So that's why streaming is important. So how do we stream these responses? So the way to do it is as simple as specify stream is equal to true. Now we don't have a response. What we have is a response stream, and this is basically uh, a generator. And if you know about generator and iterators in Python, you would understand that generators are not loaded yet in memory. So what we can do is we can do something like for response in response stream, and in this for loop what I can do is print response.text. Now you will see as the article is being generated. So this is a long article. Let me do it for 1,000 words, okay, so that you will be able to see it for some time. Let me make it larger, okay, and let me get rid of this. So if I run this, text will be printed as it is being generated, you see, just like that. Okay, so this looks quite good, and the user is able to wait, and they are able to read through these responses as they are reading. Okay, so I think that's it. And in this video I tried to basically take the Gemini and cover all of its important components that are important to know and understand. And I also covered some bit of theory around Gemini and LLMs, not completely in a depth kind of overview, but it was good enough to get you started using this into your applications, and basically integrating it into your existing applications by maybe utilizing these structured outputs. Because I feel this feature of Gemini is pretty cool, that you can take this and structure the responses provided by LLMs. Yeah, so I think that would be it, and I would like to stop right here. And yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know if you have any feedback. Thank you so much.